Your brain is being trained every single day to avoid effort, not because you're lazy, but because you've been conditioned to choose the easiest reward available. And the dangerous part? It doesn't feel like a decision. It feels normal, automatic, effortless, harmless. A quick check, a short scroll, 1 minute that turns into 10. And while it feels insignificant, your brain is learning something every time. Ease over effort, comfort over challenge, now over later. You don't notice it in the moment, but you feel it later. When you try to focus and can't. When you try to start and delay. When you sit down to do something meaningful and suddenly feel resistance for no clear reason. That resistance didn't come from nowhere. It was trained, quietly, repeatedly, daily. But here's the shift. Once you see the pattern, you stop blaming yourself. And once you stop blaming yourself, you can start retraining yourself. Every time you check your phone, scroll without intention, or switch tasks, the second something feels slightly uncomfortable, you are reinforcing escape, not rest. Escape, and your brain is paying attention. It starts to associate discomfort with immediate relief. Hard, leave bored, scroll, stuck, switch. That loop becomes your default. So when it's time to do something that actually matters, deep work, focused effort, creative thinking, your brain doesn't cooperate. It resists. Not because it's broken, but because it's been trained to avoid exactly that state. This isn't a motivation problem, it's a conditioning problem. And conditioning is powerful because it happens below awareness. You don't vote on it, you don't approve it, it just builds, one small decision at a time, until it becomes who you are. Most people hear dopamine detox and immediately think extremes. No phone, no music, no entertainment, no anything. They go all in for a day, maybe two, then they crash because they didn't change their system. They just removed their escapes. And without a system, your brain goes back to what it knows. Harder, faster, stronger. That's why most people fail. Not because the idea is wrong, but the execution is unrealistic. Core method. This isn't about removing dopamine. That's impossible and unnecessary. This is about retraining how your brain earns it. Step 1 isn't to quit everything. It's to remove what's automatic. The behaviors that require zero awareness. The ones that happen before you even realize it. Opening apps without thinking. Checking your phone without purpose. Filling every quiet moment with noise. These aren't conscious choices. They're reflexes. And you don't fight reflexes with discipline. You disrupt them with friction. Make it harder. Move distracting apps. Turn your phone grayscale. Disable notifications that don't matter. Log out after each use. Add just enough resistance that your brain has to pause. And in that pause, you regain control. Because what's easy becomes automatic. And what requires effort becomes intentional. Right now, your brain is overstimulated, not tired. Overstimulated. There's a difference. You don't feel drained because you did too much meaningful work. You feel drained because your attention has been pulled in too many directions. Constant input, constant novelty, constant switching, and your brain adapts. It starts expecting stimulation, so when things slow down, it feels wrong, uncomfortable, empty. That's why silence feels heavy, why stillness feels unnatural, and that's exactly the problem, because focus requires the opposite. It requires staying when nothing is happening yet, so you train that skill. Deliberately, no phone for the first 30-60 minutes of your day. Protect that space. No stimulation during low-effort tasks. Eat without scrolling. Walk without audio. Sit without filling the gap. Let your mind be without feeding it constantly. At first, it will resist. It will search for something, anything. That's withdrawal, not from dopamine, but from dependency. Stay with it, because on the other side of that discomfort is control. Most people have reversed the reward system completely. They feel good before they've done anything to earn it. A scroll before starting, a video as a break before effort, a reward without a reason. And over time, your brain stops associating effort with satisfaction. It learns something else. Why work? When is a reward already available? That's why everything meaningful feels harder, because it offers delayed reward, and your brain has been trained for instant gratification. So you flip the system completely. Work comes first, always, then reward, after, never before. You create a simple rule: no easy dopamine before hard effort. And at first, it feels restrictive, but then something shifts. Effort starts to feel better. Progress becomes satisfying. Completion feels earned again. And slowly, your brain reconnects the loop it lost. Effort, reward. That's the loop that builds discipline. That's the loop that builds focus. That's the loop that builds results. there's something deeper happening underneath all of this: identity. Because your habits aren't just actions, they're signals. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you reinforce a different version of yourself. Someone who stays, someone who finishes, someone who doesn't escape the moment it gets hard. And every time you don't, you reinforce the opposite. This is why small changes matter, because they stack, not just in results, but in self-perception. You begin to trust yourself again, and that trust is what allows consistency. Realization moment. This was never about dopamine. It was about control. Control over your attention, control over your impulses, control over what you do when it actually matters. Because right now, your habits are running in the background, deciding how you spend your time, deciding what you focus on, deciding what you avoid. And if you don't question them, they will define your future for you. Not dramatically, but gradually, one distracted day at a time, ending. Most people won't do this, not because it's complicated, but because it requires honesty. It forces you to see how much control you've given away, how often you escape, how quickly you avoid discomfort, and that's uncomfortable to admit. So most people don't. They stay distracted, stay reactive, stay controlled by whatever is easiest in the moment. But the few who choose differently, who sit in the discomfort, who rebuild their habits, who train their attention like a skill, become dangerous in the best way: focused, calm, deliberate. Not because they have more time, but because they use it differently. Not because they feel more motivated, but because they rely on something stronger than motivation: control. So the question is simple. Are you going to keep reacting to your impulses? Or are you going to start directing them? Are you going to keep choosing what's easy? Or train yourself to choose what matters? Because both are being practiced every day. Whether you realize it or not, now you do. So what happens next? It's on you. Prove it. Comment. Control.